Welcome to Advanced TV Herstory. I'm your host, Cynthia Bemis Abrams. This is the place where we connect the dots of TV and feminism to American culture and politics. If you like what you hear, head to tvherstory.com and listen into all of our archives that are categorized to make it easier to find what you're looking for. And also, while you're there, please sign up for our newsletter. Promise I'll never sell your information. Now, on with the show. Welcome, TV Herstoryans. I'm coming to you, as I always do, from Minneapolis, Minnesota. And this is an episode that's going to be the first ever that takes a look at TV women from the perspective of what U.S. state they are, to some degree, connected to, affiliated with. They might have been born here in Minnesota. They may have worked in Minnesota for a period of time, or they depicted a character in a series that was set in Minnesota. I promise you, it's going to be some fun names and a few little trivia facts and anecdotes. And it spans TV sitcoms and dramas as well as the news. And there's even a producer who came from Minnesota. And that's kind of actually saying a lot. I will, however, put in the caveat that this is not an exhaustive list. This is just what came to me through research and, a deep, deep knowledge of TV old as well as new. So I'm sure you'll have fun listening to the names. The reason why I'm using this opportunity is because, as you know, Advanced TV Herstory connects the dots of TV and feminism to American culture and politics. And in the last year and a half or so, we have spent a lot of time talking about comfort TV, because wherever you live in the country, TV and that sense of familiarity, perhaps with your favorite shows, has never been more important. I think back to the episode I did with Carly Beaumont, and Carly and I talked about what some of the most important genres are for comfort TV, because not everyone has the same genre. You sometimes can best escape when you're thinking, not so much just being numbed like a good episode of Murder, She Wrote. Within that whole conversation of comfort TV, that brought me to a lot of fun exchanges with the folks at Weigel Broadcasting, who are part of, they're the ones who brought us Start TV and Me TV and Dabble and catchy comedy, Heroes and Icons. And that's how I got to the Donna Reed episode just in January, that great interview with Mary Owen, who is Donna Reed's daughter. Where am I in Minneapolis, you might ask? About 4 to 5 miles away from the two places where Renee Good and Alex Preddy were gunned down, murdered. I have been involved in some activity, but I'll tell you, it's been a long time now. It's been a good 8 weeks. It became obvious to me that the heat was turned up in the middle of December when we got an email from the church asking for people to buy grocery gift cards quickly and get them to the church so that they could be distributed to families who were not able to leave their homes to do basic grocery shopping. That was the first sign. And while the holidays sort of were the big distraction, lo and behold, in early January, it began and it has not quit. And what is it? Well, it's everything. It's my social media feeds, which of course are sort of tethered to an algorithm. So once you click on one or two things, all of a sudden this becomes your daily diet. And that's not such a bad thing, because the creators and the influencers who are reporting from all this are right on the ground. What's happening in the streets, video of the violence, others providing really important lessons to white people about why this has in fact been going on, and their eyes are open, and this is their chance to not look away. Other things in online, particularly Instagram and Facebook, where there is need. Who is holding a food drive or a household supply drive, where you can Venmo or send money to help folks with rent, etc. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But suffice it to say, these have been hard days, and it has been a cold, classic Minnesota winter. And from my perspective, having podcasted through COVID and other challenging times, I am struggling a bit with the mission of Advanced TV Herstory, which is in fact very progressive and educational as well as informative and maybe a little entertaining. Wow, it just really seems like it's irrelevant, like it's fiddling while Rome burns. I guess podcasting while Minneapolis burns. I hope that's not the case. Is it really the best use of my time? Because I've already given blood and will do so again. And we've contributed both money and hours to the large local food pantry. And my social media feeds, at least on Instagram and Facebook, have shared other ways for folks to get involved. I've attended vigils, and I've provided support of all forms to the people in my circle. And by extension, my hope is that then they are able to stay strong and support others. That is where we are as a community in the Twin Cities in Minnesota in February 2026. And yet I still believe that that's not enough. So I'm reaching out to you to put a little focus on that Minnesota grit and stubbornness and some of the tremendous talent that has either come from our state or walked through it at least. And prevail upon you then to make a decision about whether or not you want to get involved in supporting this stronghold, this backbone, and belief that we are in fact a tipping point for the nation. And we know that the world is watching. Now, speaking of watching, did you know that there was a time in television news when the Twin Cities of Minnesota, Minneapolis and St. Paul, used to be a stop for TV news folks who were on the brink of getting the national assignment? And we proudly claim CBS's Susan Spencer, who was on TV a lot in the 70s and 80s and 90s, as having spent time right here at the CBS affiliate. More currently, Michelle Norris, who you may remember from National Public Radio, is now on MS Now. And over on the Fox channel, you may recall Gretchen Carlson. She came from Anoka, Minnesota. However, she also won a major sexual harassment suit from Fox and Roger Ailes. Also on Fox, Harrison Faulkner is an anchor even today. The position she had prior to that national anchor job was, in fact, here in the Twin Cities. And in a sort of newsy realm, Liz Winstead, the co-creator of The Daily Show, is from Minneapolis. Again, listeners, this is not an exhaustive list. If I have missed anyone, it's not by intention. Please message me, send me an email, and let me know who I can include, at least in social media and updates in the show notes. Lastly, I just want to do a quick shout out to the universities of Minnesota and Wisconsin. They have the journalism schools that have generated not just national talent, but a lot of regional talent. In fact, some friends of mine in front of the camera as producers, as editors across TV, radio, print journalism. They are chasing the stories, and I am very proud to know all of them. So when you think about TV news, who's that career gal with spunk who produced the news at the fictional TV station WJM? Yes, Mary Tyler Moore. Now, she is not a Minnesotan. We claim her barely. We recognize her. We even, with TV Land, the TV station, there is a statue of Mary Tyler Moore on the Nicollet Mall in downtown Minneapolis. The Mary Tyler Moore house is about 1 mile from mine, and it's kind of fun to walk by. And yes, you can find it on Google Maps. So just remember that back in the 70s, the showrunners Grant Tinker, who was Mary Tyler Moore's husband, and Norman Lear did a really nice job of selecting middle America cities for their shows. And so as much as Minneapolis is proud of the Mary Tyler Moore show, and I would say all of Minnesota will claim that, Cincinnati had WKRP in Cincinnati. One Day at a Time was in Indianapolis. Happy Days took place in Milwaukee. And Good Times was supposed to be the south side of Chicago. That's how we learned about how other people lived, even if it was sitcom Other People. And how did other people come to know about Minneapolis, or more importantly, Minnesota? The TV series Little House on the Prairie, which was based on the Laura Ingalls Wilder books, set in the fictional Walnut Grove, Minnesota. Coach, and the FX series Fargo. So here's the list of women who came from here, spent time here, and we're proud of every single one of them. Sarah Pillsbury of the Pillsbury family was a producer of some made-for-TV movies, and more importantly, of Back to the Future and How to Make an American Quilt. Our biggest star, even though she wasn't here for very long, Judy Garland, born in Grand Rapids, Minnesota. Arlene Dahl, who you might remember from classic Hollywood, just like so many other of the aging classic veterans, made appearances on Love Boat, Love American Style. She was in Burke's Law, and she was on Daytime. Teresa Ganzel wasn't born in Minnesota, but she attended high school here, won a whole bunch of awards in public speaking, was in Mr. Belvedere, and has done a lot of voice work, and just so happens to have graduated from the same high school that I did in Bloomington, Minnesota. From Rochester to the south of the Twin Cities, home of Mayo Clinic, Lea Thompson. And Lea, of course, has been in The Chicken Sisters, The Spencer Sisters, and Switched at Birth. Those are just the TV series she's been on. Obviously, a lot of film work. Julia Duffy of Edina, Minnesota, which is a Twin Cities suburb, Newhart, and the later seasons of Designing Women. Melissa Peterman of Burnsville, another suburb a little to the south. Well, you know Melissa from many, many seasons on Reba and Young Sheldon. Now, a special, sort of great story about Loni Anderson from Roseville, Minnesota, which is a suburb of St. Paul, is that, well, she wrote an incredible book, Loni Anderson, My Life in High Heels. I really recommend it. It is not your usual celebrity biography, in part because she gets really candid about her relationship with Burt Reynolds. Loni Anderson had been in WKRP in Cincinnati and Nurses and Partners in Crime, but I think one of her greatest accomplishments was in 1980 when she produced and helped create and starred in the Jane Mansfield story. Now, of course, Jane Mansfield, the buxom blonde from the 50s, kind of a poor man's Marilyn Monroe. Well, as it turns out, I believe Loni Anderson felt she had a lot in common with Jane Mansfield and was given much of the same advice: to color her hair, to sculpt her body, and play dumb when she needed to. And so from Jane Mansfield to Loni Anderson to Jennifer Marlowe on WKRP in Cincinnati, you get a sense that Loni did what she could with her power in the production of WKRP to make Jennifer Marlowe so much more than what was expected. And I think that's really, really cool, and never got a chance to interview Loni Anderson as hard as I tried. And then there's Jessica Lange from Cloquet, Minnesota, right outside of Duluth. Beautiful country up there. From FX's Feud and FX's American Horror Story, as well as a bunch of made-for-TV movies. I'm going to quickly go through the rest of the list, which is, again, not exhaustive. Marion Ross from Albert Lea, Minnesota, 97 years old. You might remember her from Happy Days and Brooklyn Bridge. Wow, Brooklyn Bridge, awesome. Rachel Lee Cook was born in Minneapolis. Jessica Biel of Seventh Heaven was born in Ely, which is way, way up north near the Boundary Waters Canoe area. Winona Ryder of film and Stranger Things and The Plot Against America, born in Winona, hence her name. Yara Shahidi of Blackish and Grownish, born in Minneapolis. Kimberly Elise of The Mosquito Coast and Hit the Floor, born in the Twin Cities. I found sources saying she was born in Minneapolis or St. Paul, but she can't have been born both. Nip and Tuck's Kelly Carlson also came from Bloomington, Minnesota, my hometown. Brianna Brown, who played Lisa Niles on General Hospital and got her start on Freaks and Geeks, is from Apple Valley. Here's one that did not that took me by surprise. Jane Russell, yes, the full-figured gal of the full-figured gal bra commercials of the 70s, did a couple guest spots on Hunter and the Yellow Rose, and she was born in Bemidji, Minnesota, again, way up north, not far from Grand Rapids. And it wouldn't have been, it was almost the same time that Judy Garland was born, come to think of it. Mo Collins of Parks and Recreation and The Walking Dead. And she is quite active on Instagram, following a lot of what has been going on here in Minnesota for the last 8 weeks. Lastly, and again, into the nonagenarians, Tippi Hedren is currently 96, still alive, got her start in New Ulm, moved to Edina, the suburbs of Minneapolis. And while we know her for all of her Hitchcock roles, she has appeared in Fashion House and Bold and the Beautiful episodes on Daytime, and is the mother of Melanie Griffith, grandmother of Dakota Johnson. These are just some of Minnesota's connections and contributions to TV. And some of these women embrace their connection, embraced it, and some sort of didn't, haven't, won't. But Minnesota is proud of every single one of them because we don't have that many of them to stand with. And the amount of grit and strength that it takes to make it in entertainment from wherever you are born and raised, but especially coming from the Midwest, it takes a lot. There's a lot of inertia here, and there's not that many connections. It is hard work. So, yep, we are proud of every single one of them. And for now, you can see that we are just trying to explain to people what life is like living in Minnesota and what we are made of. So I invite you to contribute to the work that's going on here in Minnesota, sometimes with the help of all of the names above noted previously. So like perhaps you have followed some of them in their social media, I invite you to contribute to the work that's being done here on the ground to preserve democracy and support those who are unwittingly underserved or ignored at this point from the Constitution, as these 4 amendments are being violated on a daily basis, and people are being deprived of their rights. The First Amendment, the right to free speech. The Second Amendment, the right to carry a gun. And in this case, in this state, we have a concealed carry law and a permitting process and sales processes. All of the laws are in place to ensure that, at least for those with a carry conceal permit, that they are legit. The Fourth Amendment, which is the unreasonable search and seizure, that has flown out the window. And that is, to some degree, many, many complaints right now against the Department of Justice and Homeland Security. And lastly, the 14th Amendment, which is the right of due process. Due process under the law and the steps that are necessary to be taken by law enforcement, the representation within the court system, the delivery of justice. Yeah, all 4 of those constitutional amendments are being violated on a daily basis, some getting more attention and headlines than others. But I'm going to share some links in the show notes of established organizations such as food pantries and legal services, and they're all rolled up in one site that I'm going to make it easy for you to remember if you're just listening to this and can't get to your show notes. Standwithminnesota.com. Standwithminnesota.com. Whatever your passion is, whichever amendment means the most to you, there is sure to be a way for you to contribute financially or perhaps track some of these organizations in your own social media and share the cause and the opportunities to get more involved. It's quite likely that Stand with Minnesota is not going away anytime soon. Here it is, February 2026, most likely for the end of the year, if not, a long time. It will take, as we are all learning, literally decades for this country to recover, if in fact we recover. So think about what you can do to help us out, because we have been at this for 8 weeks. I was at a vigil. I attended a vigil for both Renee Good and Alex Pretty. And at the Alex Pretty one, right outside of the VA Medical Center, somebody said, it reminded us, this is not a sprint and it's not a marathon. We are in a relay. And right about now, the troops on the ground, everybody's getting a little exhausted. Help from everyone would make a difference in terms of easing up on the kind of work that has to get done on the ground, the kind of training that needs to happen as more people come into the fray to become observers or to provide legal support or whatever. Money is going to make a difference. And right now we are being outspent by our own government. We don't know where this will all lead. We do know that we are at a national standoff for our constitutional rights, and we, as Minnesotans, stubborn, will not back down. This message today, our shared love of TV and feminism and the United States of America, listeners, you and me, this is why I podcast. Many thanks to Mary Lou Morose for audio editing and production assistance, to Nivea Lopez for video editing and production assistance. The music is Jazzer's Take Me Higher, found at freemusicarchive.org. Stay safe, Get involved, pay attention, be alert. Any city could be next, and we just don't want it that way. Peace. I'm your host, Cynthia Bemis Abrams.